And you think this place isn't built on a foundation of mystery and secrets? Oh boy.
Scarenthood is a comic that walks a fine thematic line, trying to navigate the often tricky horror comedy genre while also discussing parenthood and all it entails, from the joys to the frustrations to the fears. In truth, all of the horror and the comedy are not as key to it all as parenting. Being a parent, especially all the uncertainties and anxieties that go along with it, are the very core of this story and everything builds from that. Or, as writer and artist Nick Roche describes it,
Scarenthood is all about a gang of parents of preschoolers who go ghost hunting while the kids are in school, but who of course have got to be back in time to collect the kids at lunchtime.
The story, in more strict terms of events, revolves around a group of parents, more specifically the protagonist Cormac with his daughter Bethany, whom he calls Scooper, as they uncover a dark secret about the hall where their kids attend preschool. Flinno, a boisterous man who acts as our first humour in the story, tells how it was built from the remains of an old hunting lodge that was burned to the ground by
The devil. Oh, off.
Cormac is pretty understandably dubious of Flinno's claims, given the man has been spouting conspiracy theories this entire time, including one about Bono inventing the reach round. This all eventually leads to Cormac trying to prove to Flinno, as well as fellow parents Jen and Sinead, that there is nothing dark and mysterious about the hall, only to end up unleashing whatever it was that was waiting within the crawlspace. This premise, in and of itself, isn't the most original. People go somewhere they probably shouldn't and accidentally unleash an evil. But where it does find its originality, its soul if you will, is in the fact that our protagonists aren't college kids or even regular kids, but instead everyday parents. The kind of people that most often would get written off as either boring or overbearing in most media. If we do get a parent protagonist in horror, they're usually the only one, and likely have something more exciting going on than just parenting. Not so here with these parents, at least not until the dark spirit shows up. What I find most fascinating about Roche's writing on Scarenthood #1 is the way he frames the different elements within the story: parenting, comedy, and horror. They interact when they have to, then remain distinct when it'll have the most impact. Too often in comedy horror, the horror becomes the comedy. The humour arises from those horror elements. This can work, and there are some great horror comedies that do exactly this, but to have those elements be so distinct helps Scarenthood pack a little bit more punch on both. It also works because they both arise from the same thematic core, the sheer everydayness of it all. As Roche said in an interview with Nerds and Beyond, Scarenthood imagines that those collective chills about noises in the garage or feelings of being watched on a lonely forest path are founded, so it's just a case of building on those. The horror arises not from how alien everything is, but how familiar. It takes what we know and it plays upon it. The way our brains construct fears about the dark corners of our home even when it should be the place we feel safest. And the comedy is the same, as it arises not from absurdity, but rather how everyday the characters are and how they react to everything around them. Flinno may seem a bit over the top at first glance, but there's a good chance we all know someone who's a bit like him, even if it's sport rather than conspiracy theories. The only reason our protagonists even get themselves mixed up with hungry spirits is because they're looking for a small break from their usual lives. They have almost a desperation to socialize with another human that's older than 4, even if that means ghost hunting. Not that our main cast don't love their children. It's very clear that Cormac loves his daughter Scooper, even if he is in a near constant state of exhaustion from caring for her by himself. Scooper's mother is missing from the entirety of issue 1, though referenced at several points, a mystery to be revealed later on. This leaves Cormac as essentially a single parent, dealing with all the struggles that entails, with spirits added in later for good measure. In an interview with Multiversity Comics, Roche spoke about this, saying, "I'm the co-owner/operator of 2 kids, along with my wife, so we split the blame. The more time I spend on Scarenthood though, the more I realise a lot of it is about my fear of having to do it alone, and not just about fretting over my kids' well-being. All the single parents I know seem way more on top of their business than me, and I have a tag team partner to share it all with. Cormac's attempts to cope in this book would be similar to mine, I think." And there's a lot of that in here. Cormac's insecurities and worries fill the pages as he struggles to do what he can for his little girl. Things aren't easy, and it doesn't look like they'll get any better soon. I'm not a parent myself, and yet I find something incredibly relatable in the anxiety over parenting that fills this comic. I can hardly look after myself, so I can't imagine having another life to care for. I'm constantly amazed at those who do manage to make it work, to navigate all the hurdles and pitfalls in their path and come out the other end having raised someone who isn't completely messed up by the process. It's true that there's no sacrifice like raising a child, putting yourself aside in order to do the best you can for another being. This brings me to what I believe is the scariest moment of the book, and it isn't the one that involves a demon crawling at Cormac from the darkness of his garage. Earlier on, when Cormac first unleashes the demon by going into the crawl space and finding the lost Virgin Mary statue, he emerges only to find it 10 hours later. This is a shock to Cormac, but the pure terror in his eyes when he realizes he wasn't there to pick up his daughter Scooper is devastating. It speaks to a fear I imagine almost all parents could relate to. That one small slip on their part and they aren't there when their child needs them. They failed in their duty. It isn't Cormac's fault. He didn't choose to lose 10 hours, but now it's something he has to live with. He has to face the fact he wasn't there for his daughter. I'm certain most parents would see those pages and have any number of worst case scenarios run through their head. I'm not a parent and I certainly did. It is a potentially devastating moment. One which is thankfully averted only a page later, and yet leaves us with the question of if this will happen again, and if it does, will it have an ending anywhere near as happy? Scarenthood number 1 ultimately speaks to the anxieties of parenting, the constant fears and uncertainties that come along with it. You can put on a brave face, but truthfully no parent really knows what they're doing. All you can do is stumble from day to day as you try to do your best, and just hope that your darkest fears never become fully realized. Scarenthood also contains the single greatest piece of written dialogue in history.
Daddy, I done 2 poos today, but we could only find 1!
Hey, this is Uncanny Burt, and I just wanted to say thank you for watching my little video essay on Scarenthood number 1. You can buy both Scarenthood number 1 and Scarenthood number 2 in your local comic book shop and certain online retailers now. You should still be able to get copies of number 1, hopefully, but the number 2 just dropped last week. Basically, I have yet to read number 2 myself, hoping to get to it tonight. But basically, you should absolutely jump on this series. It's really good from just going off of issue 1. And it's a 4-issue series, I believe. And so once all 4 issues out, I will have a follow-up video, sort of just following on, looking at my thoughts and seeing how it continues on throughout all 4 issues. Basically, that's it. All rights to all the images used in this video go to the creator Nick Roche and IDW Publishing. And yeah, I think that's basically everything there. Please like, share, and subscribe to this video if you enjoyed it. I will have more video essays coming soon. I will give you a few hints. I will be doing a few different horror things. I'm going to do... I want to talk about exposition in horror movies. I want to talk about characterization in the Rooster Teeth series Ruby. I really, really want to talk about Sex Criminals, the series from Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky, which I absolutely love, and there's a lot to bite into there, so look out for that video, hopefully really, really soon. But anyway, thank you again for watching this video, and have a good one, guys.